law, it's a war crime you cannot immunize war crimes. And so to immunize war crimes is a war crime. So some lawyers have argued that the Military Commissions Act is itself a war crime. Now, but the military commissions then sort of come back up and are functioning slowly, albeit only, 3 people ultimately were prosecuted in the Bush years. But in the military commissions, and this is the critical thing, of course, I mentioned people have to be represented by lawyers. Now, over the years since 2006, 2007, many lawyers have worked at Guantanamo. Some have worked, the majority have worked as habeas counsels, just representing detainees. But a number of them have worked defending people who've been charged before the military commissions. So these military commissions that were under. And one of the things, I would say maybe there's 1,000 or so lawyers who've been involved in one form or another, and that's a guess, on Guantanamo cases. These lawyers come from all across the American political spectrum. We've got Republicans and Democrats and Greens, we've got corporate lawyers and death penalty lawyers and human rights lawyers and military lawyers. So they have really, politically or ideologically, nothing prior to this in common, other than the fact that they're lawyers. But something about working on these kinds of materials over the years, I could say that there's a common, the sort of common basis is that many of these people feel that what they're ultimately doing is fighting for humane treatment and against torture, cruelty, and abuse, and also, more specifically, fighting for the rule of law, and arguing that much of what they have to deal with at Guantanamo is an open violation of the rule of law. So that's been, in a sense, how they understand their own motivations at the lowest common denominator. Well, the government, both the Bush administration, and now I'll explain briefly on the Obama administration in a moment, but just to say it's continuing, the government has demonstrated nothing but utter contempt for the adversarial process. And that contempt is manifested in a number of ways, but not least of which the treatment of people who are either military lawyers assigned to represent detainees or those civilian lawyers who have volunteered or been brought on board to cases. And how does that contempt manifest itself? It manifests in many ways, but one of them is that for lawyers to even have access to Guantanamo and access to prisoners, they have to sign protective orders. Protective orders are essentially, among other things, gag orders. If they ever reveal anything about their clients' mental conditions, health conditions, past treatment, etc., they can be criminally prosecuted because that is a violation of the protective order. They are subject to, they cannot, for example, when they go down to Guantanamo and interview their clients, they must give their notes to censors that basically review them, and then their own notes are moved to a secure facility in Roslyn or Fairfax, Virginia. And these are lawyers who come from all over the country. Anytime they want to see their own notes, they have to fly to that secure facility to review their own notes. And at the subject of criminal penalties if they don't abide by that. But another aspect of the challenges for these defense lawyers is, the United States has many, severely problematic